7. Dinosaur Ghost. Errol concentrates hard. Something is different about his relationship to that hidden realm of minds. It feels more distant now, like a muffled echo that could just as easily be imagination constructed from memory. He visualizes reaching out to the space around him, trying to locate Pat and Dr. Lumen's apparent psyches again. He thinks he feels something out there, but it's like stars in twilight, dim, far away, and washed out by the experience of normality. He shakes his head. I think I might need to be in a heightened emotional state or something. That's a reasonable deduction, says Lumen. He can tell she's being strategically nice, but he likes it. Should I slap you? Asks Pat. He shrugs. Honestly, that might work. They turn to face each other, and he puts out his cheek. She pulls back her arm in preparation to deliver the slap of a lifetime, but it's a bluff. She kicks him hard in the shin. He buckles. You bitch! Pat turns to Eliza and taps her temple, me so smart.
Anger is a heightened emotional state.
Eliza says nothing, and Errol is thankful he can't see her face. He does his best to harness the feeling. He reaches out again. There's something brighter in that twilight now. It's jarring at first, like being dragged down the street by a bloodhound locked onto a scent trail. But a nebulous vista slowly starts to fade into his awareness. It's like some kind of forest. The place is full of giggling sprites and mischievous trolls dancing around fires in the moonlight. A pagan place ruled by trickster gods. He feels the overwhelming desire to burn the forest down and bring civilization to this realm. It takes him longer than it should to realize this forest is Pat, removed from her quivering snail shell. I see you, he says. Huh? He reaches out and grabs at a towering polka dot mushroom and pulls. Patricia screams and runs to the other side of the kitchen. He laughs. Pat does not.
What the hell?
Scare you?
Whatever you just did, don't fucking do it again, she growls. That was just wrong.
He feels embarrassed and confused. A little humbled because he realizes he doesn't have the slightest idea what he just did, and retreats from the pagan woodlands. Can you find anything material? Asks Eliza. Look for the sugar cube. He feels her gears flying around the room. Industrial little agents of science on scouting missions in the surrounding noosphere. His mind turns to what just happened with Pat, and he wonders shamefully what sensations could be achieved by exploring the Clockwork City in a little more depth. He manages to suppress the urge long enough to realize that the stray gears about the kitchen are actively trying to help him locate the sugar cube. He remembers that it's resting between his thumb and forefinger in his right hand. He tries to locate it in this frame of reality, but it doesn't seem to exist. Not in the same way people do, at least. Every time he thinks he's found it, it's up high on a shelf or dancing around in a cup of coffee. Not the physical cube itself, but the concept of sugar cubes. After several fruitless minutes, he starts to forget what he was so mad about in the first place, and the psychedelia fades back into mundanity once again. No luck, he says. I think I must be only able to access the spiritual realm or something, because there was no sugar cube over there. So much for animism, Lumen jokes. It was worth a shot. He laughs and pops the sugar cube in his mouth. The day comes to an end early as the sun dips behind the wall of mountains that surrounds them. Errol gives the ladies the bedrooms and sets up a nest below the front window to keep watch in case any agents have managed to follow them. He wishes he could have wired a timer for his recording equipment back home, but realizes his entire setup was likely torn apart as soon as they peeled out of that driveway. And that's when the situation finally sinks in. His home may as well have sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Maybe he'll be able to find a new normal somewhere else once all this is over, but he can't imagine a scenario in which he'd be able to return to that place. And they crossed that threshold the minute Dr. Lumen stepped through their door. And who is Dr. Lumen? Why the hell did she come to them? Now, obviously, it had something to do with this alien ancestry of his, but what exactly was he supposed to do to help her? His brain overclocks itself trying to tie all the strings together, and he fades into dreams once again. This time, he's in some kind of desert. Instead of sand, from horizon to horizon stretch dunes of shimmering, glassy quicksilver. There is no sound or sensation of wind, but the dunes ripple and jitter as if disturbed by a million tiny storms. He wanders through this alien world, enchanted. The sunlight glints across the top of far-off mountains. It doesn't just reflect off the surface, it refracts into bright, helical rainbows which rain down on the valley, projecting pretty alleyways of red, yellow, and indigo between the hills. He wanders on until he reaches the edge of a steep cliff. Down below, the strange iridescent material is pooled at the bottom, creating a sort of inverted plateau. It extends out to the horizon and beyond, flatter and glossier than the surface on which he stands. Something, not really a voice and not quite a thought, whispers inside him.
There was once an ocean.
He understands implicitly that the silver stuff pooled at the bottom hasn't slid over the cliff due to erosion. It used to be water. Water made homogeneous and glassy like everything else in this world. The voice whispers to him again, not in words this time, not really even in images, but in truths, that this stuff is what remains after everything has been swallowed up by the strange matter. Quark dust, the aliens call it. This was your homeworld, he says out loud. He doesn't need an answer. He was repeating something already spoken to him from within. He has the urge to say that it looks beautiful, but he presses his lips shut. And this quark dust isn't made only from rocks and water, and this world was once alive.
Oh, but it is beautiful, the presence assures him. As may be a polished skull once all flesh has been gnawed away by time.
He nods. There is no room for politeness around a telepathic being. He finds himself returning to the question of why all this is happening to him. It takes a second for him to realize this isn't his own mind, but that of this other who is presenting the question before them both. Yeah, he asks the other, what is going on? The presence tells him to remain calm, that it is going to manifest itself before him and that he should not be afraid. He feels sure that he will not be afraid, and the presence witnesses this. A shadow appears behind him on the cliff. He turns around slowly, not afraid but reverent. The figure stands tall on the hill not far behind him. It is dressed in flowing white, gold-trimmed robes with a high collar lined with opalescent material inside. Like the desolate planet around them, but maintained, sharp, and orderly. The figure itself takes a form that does not surprise Errol in the slightest. It has a large, bald head supporting proportionately large, almond-shaped eyes. Below a tiny, upturned nose, its thin lips do not move when it speaks. More telepathy, but much less subtle than a moment ago. It says,
All will be explained in time.
The canned answer, and the being does not attempt to hide that fact. It strides towards Errol and bows its head in greeting.
I am Grandhead Zebulon. It is a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance, nice and cold.
The telepathic being would know that he prefers that name. And he still finds himself mildly embarrassed at it actually being used. He bows back and returns the sentiment. Grandhead Zebulon.
You may call me Zeb if you wish,
The Grandhead assures him. Errol does not see himself ever calling this highly evolved being Zeb, but he nods.
Walk with me,
Zebulon tells him. They begin to roam across the strange landscape. Zebulon points out odd, crumpled things around them, explaining that they are the remains of plants and animals. He says all this like a museum curator, far removed from the massive scale destruction that these figures represent. Eons removed, if Errol had to guess.
Eons, yes, Grandhead Zebulon confirms. The distance between us and our nativity spans across time, space, and realms far beyond even our own fathoming. And yet the echoes of this world are ever present, like a ghost.
That's why you've come to Earth. Errol puts the thoughts into words. You've been watching us for millennia, so you could protect us from all this. Zebulon does not answer. He stares out over the landscape, perhaps to center himself in a frame of reference close enough to Errol's own in order to better communicate his motives. Finally, the huge dark eyes meet Errol's blue ones.
You are among only a few humans that share something in common with us.
Errol nods. My bloodline.
More than that.
Zebulon reaches into Errol's mind once more and retrieves the memory of escaping out the window, the moment he discovered his powers.
Not many are able to access these abilities, he says. Even among our own kind, it takes much practice to accomplish something like this.
Errol can feel the truth in what he's being told. This being is not just trying to psych him up. He feels a sense of purpose welling inside him and he sets his jaw. What do I need to do? Grandhead Zebulon does not waste time using English to communicate this next part. He uploads the information directly into Errol's brain. No ambiguity, no questions. Errol awakens the next morning with exactly the information Dr. Lumen came here looking for.